Everybody's here tonight. Got a full house. All right. If anyone is here and got a notice about an item with the herb farm, that has been pulled and that's not going to be heard tonight. So thank y'all for coming, but there wasn't enough time to send y'all a second notice. They just pulled that after the notice was sent out. So go have dinner now. Hmm? All right, we don't have any public hearings tonight. All we have is site plans. So we're going to go to the action items and go to action item number 5A. Request site plan 2316 by Catherine Sharrock to consider the site plan review for STR facility located at 510 East Creek Street. Welcome back again. Oh, Kevin's going to do it?
Forgive me.
Kevin's going to do it, and
Since
Steve is going to be
time,
sitting
she
out.
wanted me to talk me through. So Kevin Spraggins, VI Consulting Engineers, and this is a site plan. I would call this a site plan reapproval. I don't know if anybody remembers the last time this came through, or if this rings a bell as far as what it came through. So y'all approved this site plan before, subject to Historic Review Board. And so Historic Review Board reviewed it. They made one change that I'm aware of, and that was they asked for the front building, the two buildings in the front, if you've got your site plan, which is labeled Suite B and Suite C, to not be two units and to be one unit put together architecturally so that it looks like a single family unit for the neighborhood. So that change was made. It was approved by the Historic Review Board. And because that change was made, it then gets kicked back to you guys, and y'all get to look at it again and make sure that y'all are okay with it as well. So that is our request. And Catherine's here also as the owner to answer any questions.
All right.
I
Do you have any comments? Have staff make their comments first.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin, for the summary of the application. Just to further go over Kevin's presentation, this application has been submitted to review a site plan for an STR facility located at 510 East Creek. It probably looks familiar. You reviewed it and previously approved a similar layout for this development on December 8th of 2021. And it is important to note that this previous site plan was approved under the 2018 STR ordinance. However, the site layout was denied by the Historic Review Board, and they requested a layout more in keeping with the historic guidelines. So the applicant has now submitted a new application to the Historic Review Board that depicted the proposed layout that we see before us this evening, and that was approved by the Historic Review Board on June 13th of 2022. The applicant is now returning to P&Z to essentially approve the modifications that were approved by the Historic Review Board. The application is in keeping with the zoning ordinance for the development, and they are proposing to add 3 new STR units to the property. On the site plan, they're identified as units A, B, and C. Staff would recommend changing that addressing to unit 100, 200, and 300 in keeping with our addressing policies. Otherwise, overall, the development's in keeping with the R2 mixed residential zoning. The building coverage is 28%, and the zoning allows a maximum of 55%. The impervious cover is at 52%, and this zoning allows a maximum of 65%. The height is appropriate. The access and circulation, the development will take access off of East Creek Street with the existing driveway depicted on the site plan. There are no sidewalks proposed, and there are 4 parking spaces provided towards the rear of the development. Utilities are available to serve the property, and detention will be addressed as part of the civil construction plans. There is a requirement for park dedication for an amount of $500 per new unit for a total of $1,500. And there will also be a requirement for a landscaping and a screening plan. Overall, the applicant has worked to develop a project that meets both the minimum development standards of the zoning ordinance as well as compliance with the historic design guidelines. And staff finds that the applicant has successfully met all of the minimum requirements as presented. And the project is in conformity with all of the zoning ordinances, specifically the 2018 R2 and STR zoning ordinance. Staff has identified that the addresses as depicted will need to be changed, but with that, staff recommends approval of the site plan conditioned upon approval of civil construction plans, payment of the park dedication fees, and the correction to the addressing.
Thank you, Shelby. All right. Tom, you said you had
I
some
have a
comments?
question. Number one, is staff okay with the alignment of the driveway?
Yes, sir.
And then, so the other question I just have is this is R2. How does it qualify as an STR facility as opposed to not?
So what they're proposing is the addition of 3 units, which would make the property an STR facility. An STR unoccupied is 1 unit on 1 lot where no ownership resides. An STR facility is multiple units on 1 lot where no ownership resides. This would not be allowed under today's STR ordinance, but as the property was originally considered and had an approved site plan, both through the Planning and Zoning and Historic Review Board under the 2022 or the 2018 STR ordinance, they're allowed to continue this use.
So it would not be allowed under the 2022 ordinance either?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
But it is allowed under the
Under the
2018.
2018, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's my question.
Anybody else? Questions or comments?
I move that we approve request SP 2316, the site plan for STR facility located at 510 East Creek Street.
Okay, motion by Tom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Let's go to action item 5B, request site plan 2318 by Jose Rivera to consider the site plan and entry corridor review for a hotel development located at 1220 North US Highway 87. Hi, how are y'all?
Hi, how's it going? So, I'll take it.
Okay.
My name is Sergio Zamaron. We apologize we weren't here the previous time, but we appreciate you all making the time to hear and to submit whatever questions you may have. And also because we want to make sure we get this project going for the clients, and we want to make sure that we abide by all your ordinances. And we have a very beautiful city here, and we want to make sure that we continue that flow. So we're here just to answer any questions you may have. I know there was something about the signage the last time, and we kind of addressed that on the response and on the revised plans that we submitted, but we're here to answer any other questions.
Would you just give us a brief overview of what you're doing to the building that's
Sure,
different?
yes.
Okay.
It's basically a facelift. The owners are going to get a franchise involved. Right now, it's like an independently owned hotel, so this is going to be franchised. I'm not too sure about the brand right now. It's going to be a Wyndham, sorry. They started off with another brand, but Wyndham is going to be taking over. And basically, we're going to be doing a facelift, major facelift, interior and exterior to the building. Right now, it's pretty much, it's a little outdated, so they're going to be putting a new roof, new exterior fiber cement siding in there, and we're trying to put also a new addition above the existing carport. So the carport that's there, or the brick-a-share, that's going to be removed, and they're adding a new one and adding some additional rooms to the above it as well. So getting that addition in there, we're also able to give a better facelift to the current building. So that's, in essence, that's what's going on right now.
All right, thank you. We'll have staff make some comments, and if we have questions, we'll give you some questions on it. Sure. Thank you. And we can do this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a site plan and entry corridor review for the property located at 1220 North US Highway 87, an existing building in the entry corridor. So we reviewed it for its conformity with City Ordinances 7.131 for site plans and the entry corridor. So currently it's providing, or 50 spaces are provided with 50 required parking spaces, including 3 ADA at a rate of 1.1 space per room. for 45 rooms. The entry corridor, this site was previously developed prior to the adoption of the entry corridor design guidelines. However, the proposed massing, scale, and style of the building are appropriate, and the existing parking layout is appropriate as the building fronts the entry corridor with parking behind and along the side street. A new sidewalk is required along Highway 87 North. The proposed colors of the remodel should be in keeping with entry corridor standards 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. The proposed dark gray should be an accent color only and not a primary facade color. The first design that he referenced presented included a very tall parapet wall over the new cantilevered rooms. The staff recommends the design as proposed on page 58. It does not include that tall parapet ceiling or parapet wall. The entry corridor standards 4.2 and 4.7 reference that a traditional height parapet wall would be appropriate over this flat section of the roof, but the original design was too tall. So this, as you see on the screen right now, is completely flat. So a more standard height parapet wall to screen any equipment up there would be appropriate. So staff found that the site plan meets the minimum requirements per the zoning and subdivision ordinances, and the request to remodel an existing development, which was in existence prior to the entry corridor design guidelines and standards. While not all aspects of the existing development comply, the proposed changes are in keeping with the guidelines and standards, and staff recommends approval of the application with changes to the color scheme and addition of a sidewalk and the design with the parapet ceiling over the addition.
Thanks, Alan.
Sidewalk's just on 87, not on Theodore Spec. It's already there. It's already there. It doesn't show it in there. Is it? Look. Where is it? Well, no.
'87.
So not in front of Theodore Spec. Yeah, facing the post office. Why is that?
The sidewalk plan. I mean, you could require, we could see entry corridor talks about an entrance connection to the front door. So since it's kind of got a double front, you could probably make the argument that it needs one on Theodore Spec.
That would be my argument. What is the difference in height?
I'm trying to remember right now. Can I see the image that you all have right there? I'm sorry. No, it's turned off. No, it's on.
You can come stand in one of these.
Sure. We submitted so many of these.
Might as well. What do you mean you can't see that?
Now I can see it. I basically took that off just so you can see all of things. And the reason why we sent this over is the question regarding why we had a curtain.
Correct.
The reason why we're doing that curtain is to try to hide that roof line that's behind.
Understand.
And that was at 35 feet is what it was before. The bridge right now is at 35 feet 6 inches. So I'm not going way past it, but it's just enough to
Just enough to hide it.
just enough to hide it. That's the reason. Now, this right here doesn't reflect that. The original plans that we had, the plans that have it right here, this would reflect like dog. This was submitted because someone this is months ago. I'm trying to it was an email with a request to see what was behind it. And that's right.
So just to be clear, there is a parapet that's coming back.
I would suggest it's a purpose to hide that existing roof that's back there.
That's what we wanted. Yeah. But
But the issue on the previous review was the parapet that was put there was too tall. And we didn't like that it was being used as the branding of the hotel. It was just too much.
it was a billboard.
Too big, and it stood out. Putting your branding to the side like you've done now, that looks good. probably we will need to approve some sort of a parapet wall at a lower level just to hide that roof.
The mechanical.
Say, what, 3 feet? Something like that. Yeah, just so it, so you don't see the roof. That way you have the
Oh, you might
opportunity,
have
if you have to add air conditioning
Yeah,
or
we just
anything
might
back
have
there,
mechanicals on there.
your screen, it just high enough to screen any equipment you might have to put. Okay.
So at that one, basically, not the logo on the side, leave the logo, but
Leave the signage the way you have it on this, facing the side street. Just, no, just 3 feet from the roof. From that flat roof, you can go up 3 feet. That's it. Right, and that's it. And, yeah. Does that make sense, Ann?
Now, let me ask you while you're here, the height of where the sign is, right here? Yeah, right there. Is that high enough to hide the pitch of the roof, looking at it from the side street? Yes. I'm just asking the question. I'm not. Okay.
Have them just bring the parapet around that, whatever, 10 feet.
Yeah.
Between that, yeah. Make
No,
it
I'm gonna have
smaller.
it
Correct.
Are you removing any of the trees that are in front of the servant yet?
Actually, on the application.
So that's going to hide some of that.
Now, the new design is not, what is the setback on the Theodore Speck side as far as setback is concerned? Because he's tearing it down, is he going to put it back exactly the same spot? Or is it going to be closer to the street? It actually flips closer.
It's good,
But
but see the dotted line, that's the setback line, so it's gotta be.
Okay. But it is a change from what it is now. It will be closer to Theodore Speck, is that correct? Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah, it is. So basically, as this is that's the existing survey the way it is right now.
Okay.
That is where it's at. So we are extending a little bit, but it's still within the setback.
Okay, I just want to make sure, wondering how close it was coming to the setback.
Because that's probably a 20-foot set. Maybe a 25.
I'm going right now, based on my measurements, my plan, I'm going 21.
21, so it's a 20-foot setback.
Okay. These are all informational questions. They're not criticisms or hints or anything else.
And then the questions about the color scheme, has city staff provided you with the acceptable color scheme that can be used in lieu of that dark gray?
The easiest way would just be to use that dark gray as an accent instead of a primary color. The other
Change that.
colors are fine.
Do we not have a set of color palettes that are acceptable in the community?
I mean, that's what the intercorridor speaks to. That's the section I referenced, 3.31. It says earth tones, but it's blues, it's tans, it's a variety, but
But you don't provide applicants with an actual, okay. They submit what they think and then you have to approve it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So in this schematic, this rendering that we're looking at, which is the dark gray? The stuff that's on the edges is the dark gray that we're talking about?
Shelby's got the cursor.
You're talking about that sidewalk.
The
Yes,
body.
ma'am.
Which is not the darkest gray that's on, it's the second gray. Second darkest gray, you want that changed?
Correct. Yes, this other as an accent color would be okay, but this area where it's the facade itself.
Make that back or a lighter gray, it's not so dark.
I'll make a motion to approve with the inclusion of the 3-foot parapet, hiding all the mechanicals on top, and
Change to the lighter gray.
change to the lighter gray, the other staff required.
About the sidewalk?
And, no, give me a change. And the addition of a sidewalk along Theodore Speck.
87
87 and Theodore Speck. Completely, both corridor streets.
A question before we vote. Would you please pull up the picture that you had of the front of the building?
The actual
that showed this one right there. So the sidewalk is going to take out all those bushes. Is that correct?
It'll be before those bushes because the fire hydrant's about 5 feet back.
Okay. So they'll get to maintain the bushes still.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Polly. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Shelby, you got all that?
You're being rushed.
All right. All right, let's go to action item number 5C. Request for site plan 2317 by Kevin Spraggins for consideration of a site plan for review for a multifamily development located on the corner of South Eagle and Friendship.
I will recuse.
All right, Mr. Musson.
Shelby, you think you get these screens up? I got to figure out how to, because I won't know what you're looking at. I guess I could come around.
Would you mind
I
coming
guess I
around
could sit.
and
Come
Wanna
sit
sit
on the
here?
floor up here.
present it?
I don't know, Kevin, you can try it, but I don't think you'll be able to see it. You can if you want. I mean, we got.
Yeah, I know you got a seat.
Right. Kevin, can you?
I just wanted to be able to tell you which site plan to go to, but I can definitely stand around here if you want me to. Doesn't matter to me.
Maybe until we get the screens up, Kevin, if you don't mind, come around and present from the front. I don't
Okay.
know
If you want to sit
That's-
over here, if
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
one's
you
fine,
can
you can
come,
sit
if
that
you
way.
can see it from here, Kevin, have a seat. Yeah, well, no, yeah, just stay to where I can't grab you around the throat, okay?
I have a shot collar for him.
That's how you've done it all day.
That's the only reason they keep me around.
Unfair.
And well deserved.
Okay, well, this is a project that we're bringing back to you after. Okay, for what's on the site. So, what we've done, we reworked the site. First, I just want to give a brief go back through the basic project. Go through the basics of this project, and just so everybody understands what we've got and where we are and what we have on this project. So first, this project is zoned R2 and C1. So the backtrack, if you go to the site plan, the backtrack is R2, which allows 2.5-story structures, 65% impervious. The front track is C1, which allows 3-story and 70% allows 70% impervious. R2 allows multifamily. C1 allows its neighborhood commercial, which allows doctor's offices, administrative buildings, daycares, and things like that. So just want to make sure everyone knows what's allowed on these two tracks and what they're focused on. The other item that I had was I wanted to give a history on the site plans that were approved previously and the history for the track. So if you could go to the previous apartment complex that was approved for the site, that one. So that is what P&Z approved previously in 18 or something, or in that time. So that was apartments. That was 152 units, which was a density of 13.37 units per acre, and it was 2-story. Adjacent, the site plan that has been approved was Botanica. Everyone remembers this one. I think everyone was on board that was on this one. This one was 144 units, 13.79 acres, the density of 10.4. So the current site plan that we have that we're asking for approval tonight is 100 units, down from 107. It's on 11 acres, has a density of 8.8 units per acre, a single story. And so it is lower density than anything that's been approved previously and adjacent to the property. So the other thing that has come up and seems to that I had to educate myself on, and I want to make sure everyone else understood, was the difference between modular home construction and site construction. And so I have a handout here, and I also have it on here so you can see if you want the actual piece of paper. So there is no difference between modular building and site. So they follow the same codes. One is built off-site, but it's all to the same standards. They go through the same inspections. They have the same R rating as far as insulation. They're on slab-built. They're on slabs. And so I had to educate myself on that because I was trying to figure out what's the difference. I've heard different things. Okay, this is manufactured housing. No, it's modular housing. And there's a difference. And that's why staff can approve it. And as a single-family residence, if what the state recognizes as a single-family residence, and those are the rules that they have to follow. They have to follow the same rules that are followed if you were to have a building inspector. Some are even more stringent because you're in a warehouse and you're looking at all these different things and you're not set. So I had to educate myself on that. I wanted to make sure that everyone else understood that, just so you had that information. Sure. So there's no difference between modular and site-built housing. It is not manufactured housing, which that is what the trailer park, trailer home type building is. This is not that. So, and if you have any additional questions, you can owner. So back to the site plan and back to what P&Z's comments were and what staff's recommendations and requests were. And we all got together after the meeting and worked together as far as the site plan that was put together. And so what you see here is what was talked about and discussed and worked through as far as the units and the unit count that still works to make it a successful project. So one of the items, some of the items that were talked about were connectivity and sidewalks, which that has been added as far as sidewalks and pavilions that go through that tie the neighborhood together. And the entire sidewalk setup goes through the entire neighborhood and connects to both Sunrise and Friendship and South. The other question that was in the other item that was requested was as far as having community, having porches, having a neighborhood feel, and that was also accomplished through connectivity in the sidewalks. Also, they put a different type of model, a smaller model along South Eagle and offset South Eagle, so you could continue to have the single-family feel that wanted to be preserved along South Eagle, even though it is commercial. In a office building can go there, a 3-story office building can go there. We understand that there is single-family to the north that may or may not stay, but right now it's there, and that connectivity and that single-story offset open space single-family feel was requested, and I feel was put here with the fact that they put 3 buildings along there, set them off, the detention facility, the park wraps around, and that was. Then we talked about common areas, playgrounds, the playground at the bottom, detention area, that's all common area around the corner, and the dumpsters in the visitor park. So those are all the changes and the additions that were done. We're asking for y'all's approval. Staff
think I mimicked a lot of the bullet points that staff also had in their summary in their what they were looking for, and I'll give it to Shelby to finish elaborating. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. That was
Shelby, you ready?
a wonderful summary. There's a lot of moving pieces with this project, and so I'm going to try to break it down similar to how Kevin presented. An earlier version of this application was considered by Planning and Zoning on June 7th of 2023 and was ultimately denied. The applicant returned with a plan that addresses lots of feedback that the commission and staff provided. And it included the location and orientation of the buildings. Previously, the buildings located on Sunrise Street and South Eagle Street were a little closer to the street, and they were oriented inwardly. So the porches faced into the development as opposed to facing outward. So the applicant made that change. These units 1 through 14 that front on Sunrise Street, the porches face Sunrise Street. And then units 73, 83, and 93 that front on South Eagle, the shape of those units have changed and they're more square, which the applicant felt was more in keeping with that South Eagle Street stretch. And they're set back a little more so as not to crowd that streetscape there. They also provided guest parking throughout the development. On the previous site plan, if you remember, they had all of the required parking, but they were clustered at each individual unit. There was no guest parking throughout the development. So the applicant returned, provided more parking, and added that parking throughout the development. So you see clusters of guest parking between blocks on both the Sunrise Street side as well as the South Eagle Street side. They also provided connectivity within the development. There's lots of walkways, both interior to the units and also that move down towards the park area, as well as the mail kiosk, which is centrally located. And they also provided centrally located trash collection. On the previous site plan, each unit had wheelie bins, and the question came up about how it was going to be serviced, who would be responsible for that, and ultimately the applicants decided to just sprinkle or dot those dumpsters throughout the development for ease of use for the property tenants. And the previous application also had 107 two-bedroom units. The application before us this evening is for 100 two-bedroom units, so they decreased their unit count. Getting into the technical review, this is technically 2 lots, and each lot has their own zoning classification. Staff tried to break that down for you, titling them Lot 1 and Lot 2, and then tied the building cover and impervious cover and the heights allowed in each of those zones. They're all compliant, they meet. I believe there might be a question about density as it relates to the R2 zone lot. And staff did do that calculation, and a 2-bedroom unit in an R2 zone will require 3,500 square feet of land space. Not necessarily that the unit itself has to be 3,500 square feet, but you have to have that much land available to construct a 2-bedroom unit. And staff found that with that calculation, the applicants could have developed 79 units. And in this particular lot, they're only requesting to build 64. So they're well under their maximum allowed. The development plans to take access off of Sunrise Street as well as South Eagle Street and will create 9 private drive aisles that will be a minimum of 26 feet wide to serve as fire lanes for the development. They've provided walkways, a park, courtyards, visitor parking, dumpsters, and a mail kiosk. And that mail kiosk is going to be located here off of Pascal Park, which will be the main entrance coming in from South Eagle Street. I wanted to take a minute to touch on parking. They're providing 234 parking spaces, which include 7 handicap spaces. And I wanted to break down that parking calculation. So each unit requires 2 parking spaces. So the development itself will have to provide 200 parking spaces just to service the tenants. There's a requirement under the 2022 parking ordinance that requires that multifamily developments also provide a 10% parking requirement for guest parking, which they've met. The applicant actually has exceeded that, and they've provided an additional 14 spaces to add to the parking concerns that the commission had vocalized before. So those are located all throughout the development. And they've also added some additional parking spaces down here towards the park. And then utilities are available to serve the property, and an extension of existing infrastructure will be extended at the developer's expense to serve the property. The tension will be reviewed as part of the civil construction plans. There is a requirement for parkland dedication in the amount of $500 per unit for a total of $50,000. And then there will also be a requirement for landscaping and a screening plan. Overall, the applicant has revised the plan and addressed concerns expressed at the previous P&Z meeting. The buildings are set back from South Eagle Street and Sunrise Street, which is in keeping with the development patterns in this area. The buildings that front South Eagle Street have been reoriented to front towards South Eagle Street, and the shape of the buildings have become more square as seen along South Eagle Street. In addition, the project has provided guest parking throughout the development and provided connectivity by adding courtyards and walkways, and has provided refuse collection with dumpsters. A park area will front Friendship Lane, with the closest unit being approximately 80 feet from Friendship Lane. Staff recommends approval conditioned upon approval of preliminary and final plats, approval of landscaping and screening, approval of civil construction plans, confirmation that the proposed buildings are modular structures with permanent foundations that meet the local building code, as well as payment of park dedication fees.
And
Thank
Shelby,
you.
one thing that I don't know if y'all got to see the YouTube flyover. If y'all viewed that, we have that also on here. If anybody didn't get to see that and they want to see it.
Thank you. Oh, okay, we'll look at that real quick before we get started. It's not that long. There's no music.
I know I could sing, but you know, yeah. Just a graphic to let you know kind of what it would feel like to be on the project. Sometimes it can help. This is going through the open space and the playground area that's along Friendship Lane. This is just overall. This shows the mail kiosk,
No, they don't.
and then going through the development itself.
Yeah. they're-
So going in the front area, handicap parking is. This is just the overall. You start from Friendship and South Eagle and go all the way over the track to Sunrise. And then Shelby also did point out that the 8.8 the density difference with that. So I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. While this is not a public hearing, Jeffrey, I know you've signed up to speak, and since you are a direct neighbor, I'll give you 3 minutes to talk real quick.
Hello, council members, board members. I'm Jeffrey Moore, a city resident with adjoining property to this site. I ask that this request be denied because trailer parks or modular homes should not be allowed in this R2 and C1 zoning. I beg to differ on the manufactured housing because I believe that modular homes and trailer houses are the same. They're both manufactured off-site. The modular home is set on a concrete pier and beam foundation, and the other is trailered on wheels. Looking at this proposed development and the YouTube video of it, it shows that this is a trailer park. I'm in the process of remodeling my commercial building next door at 1605 East Main. Because I am in the entry corridor, I was given the Fredericksburg Comprehensive Plan Guidelines. I'm sure y'all are all aware of what's in there and the goals to make Fredericksburg an appealing and attractive destination to visit and move to. These goals are attained by restricting all new and remodeled construction and improvements. These same people that drive and pass by our entry corridor out here right now also drive right down Friendship Lane and drive right on past. We'll be driving right past this subdivision. Thus, who would want a trailer park at one of our city's entrances? Would you want this on Main Street anywhere? Not to mention the quality of construction and or how long these homes will last, or how the city building inspector would inspect and approve the wood framing, the plumbing, and electrical and finishing on 100 homes already completed and finished elsewhere. When they bring these homes in, is he going to say, oh, your wood construction's bad and return them? Also, the inadequate tandem parking is causing the first car to be locked in place and not accessible because of the car parked behind it. Those are 4 car spots, all lumped together. Also, only having 24 inches between the parked car and the wall of each of those homes, that being a safety hazard. Also, not having any sidewalks from those 4 parked spots to the front entry of each home. If you look at that flyover, there's no sidewalks from those parked spots to each house. Also, not being ADA compliant. Every one of those houses is set up about 3 feet, from 2 to 3 feet off the ground, with about 6 or 7 steps, as per that flyover and the pictures there. How would a handicapped person navigate these stairs, then only having 24 inches from the parking spots to get out of their cars? Also, having the rear side exit door of those homes 2 to 3 feet off the ground, right on top of those parked cars. Also, being a sanitation health risk of 100 residents using 3 community dumpsters. If y'all are familiar with the Carriage Park Estates subdivision over there, they have 1 dumpster, and it is a safety it's just a health hazard for everybody filling those dumpsters up. Also, being a sanitation health risk of 100 residents taking their dogs out to potty into the community park dog area. Also, who is maintaining the grounds, the appliances, and the exteriors of these properties? Also, who is policing this property for violations? Are there any STRs going to be allowed in this subdivision? And why are there no sidewalks at the streets for the residents taking their trash to the dumpsters, taking their dogs to potty park, or walking down to Walmart?
You got 10 seconds, Jeff.
If you look at that flyover, there is no park. There's 5 feet between the end of those trailers and the road. There should be a 15 feet minimum setback, but there's not. They're going to wipe out all the trees that are in the subdivision that are currently there, all the live oaks. And why is this development even being considered? It looks, feels, and is a trailer park, which should not be allowed in this section. Also, I'm really concerned about the setbacks. The 15-foot setbacks, they're almost all set back at 5 feet. And there's several other items on here, but it looks like my time's over.
Your time's up.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Does anybody else have comments? Kathy?
Sorry, I'm dressed in my workout outfit. It is what it is. I know these guys actually through my mother-in-law. I do real estate, as y'all know. I was just gonna say that their product is not a trailer home product, and we are all aware of the need for affordable housing in this community. We're going to have to figure out how to work with these guys within the city limits to make their numbers work for a teacher and her son to live in. They are not going to be run by people who don't keep up the property. I would just encourage you guys to pass this because, there's a lot of talk as well as how much modular homes are going to be the future of real estate. And this is definitely far from a trailer park. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Gary.
Anyone else? All right. Commission, have questions or comments?
So Catherine just mentioned affordability. Do we have some numbers on what these are going to rent for?
Everybody, thanks for having me. My name is Matthew Sheard. Sorry, last time we got up here, we had some numbers. We've actually gotten a chance to go through and re-review. We've been working with Tim Lundberg with the EDC, who tracks every rental unit in town very, very closely. We're We're about 15% below where the expected market rate's going to be. We're at about 1,600 per unit on average. Yes, yes.
And no STRs, correct?
It'll be deed restricted against STR.
Nick, are we allowed to add the STR restriction in our approval?
Not for purposes of the site. That's really a zoning question and an ST ordinance question. And as you know, we don't have anything to do with deed restrictions.
Okay, so since no STR permits have been applied for, by the time this is constructed and in, the new ordinance will be in place, so it'll come under the plan.
It's a moot point. Will,
Correct?
Yes.
I mean, the new ordinance kicks in January 1st.
Mayor shaking his head.
January 1 is when the new ordinance comes.
Right. And as long as they don't hit us with applications between now and January 1st, they'll come in under the new ordinance, if anybody makes an application.
Yes.
And do we ban them in R2 now? I have to keep up, so.
STR unoccupied is no longer allowed by right in R2.
Okay, what about C1?
STR unoccupied is allowed by right in C1, and I believe STR facility is also allowed in C1, up to 8 units.
Okay, so they can come in later and they can apply for STR permits in the C1 section, correct?
In the C1 for up to 8.
Just want to make it clear what we're walking into, that everybody understands.
So, is there not required ADA units in this complex?
We have 10, I think we're doing 5 units, which is, it's 5% of the total units.
Okay.
ADA.
Okay.
It will be level and at grade, and it will have a ramp if needed, depending on how the grade lies. They will be completely ADA compliant, and they will be aligned with where the parking is going to be.
And will city inspect these units? They're coming with a TDA certification, but that's a little bit different than our codes.
We don't inspect the interior connections in a unit like this. Those are inspected central area and during manufacturing, so we do not inspect the interiors.
But connections to our municipal.
The exterior connections of utilities and so forth, we do it.
Personally, I would like to see some different roof pitch heights. These roof pitch heights that you're showing us look like mobile home roof pitch heights. If you really want to make it look and feel Fredericksburg, I would suggest, I'm not going to require it because we're not going to do that, but I would suggest that you consider moving that to more of a 412 pitch as opposed to a 212 pitch or a 112 pitch.
You know if their manufacturer can do that?
They have a lot of flexibility, and that's something that I could get on the phone tomorrow.
Even modify the pitches from unit to unit.
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
Some
or just
for some
alter the
differentiation.
pitches within the thing so that they don't all look like mobile home pitches. I know it's the easiest one to get under the overhead bridges, but since I've been dealing in this, I know that they can bring in the roof in a separate structure to the body and then put it together when they're on site, where you can get a variety of ridge lines and pitch ratios that would really help improve the look and feel of the property.
Absolutely.
You would throw a couple of 2-on-12s or something.
Yeah, just some 4s and some 2s and vary them. But that 112 pitch, that classic mobile home 112 pitch, I'd really suggest that you try to avoid.
I hear you.
I don't know that it's going to cause too much financial impact. I know it does some, but I don't think it's going to be so significant that you wouldn't be willing to vary those pitch ratios.
So some questions that come about the last time this came to us about the actual overall operation of it. Is it still planned to have an on-site manager? Is it is it planned to have an on-site manager?
Yes, we found an excellent property manager. I believe it's 73, which is off of Eagle. The top square one is where they will stay, so they're on site all the time. In the beginning, we're going to have 2 folks there to manage lease up, make sure that folks are able to see any property that they need to, as well as establish true and and institutional management practices, making sure that all of the contracts are aligned and the place is well maintained and kept, and set everything up so that it will be maintained for the long term.
So you as a developer plan on continuing to manage? I think before it was going to a homeowners association management company of some
We
sort.
will have a third-party management in its entirety.
So it will have a third party?
Yes.
A sub that management? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was, I think, one of the original concerns and questions.
Right.
So I want to make a comment for the record and for the people who are in here. What we're being asked to approve here is an apartment complex using modular construction. That's what we're being asked to approve. This is not a subdivision. These are not separately owned homes. So your subdivision setbacks and all that do not apply. This is an apartment complex. I just want to make sure everybody's clear here on that's what we're talking about. It's just a different style, but it is an apartment.
Tim, I think we had some logistic questions you were going to ask us.
First of all, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And if you change the roof pitch on a duck, it's still a duck. These are trailers, and I don't care whether you put them on solid foundations or you bolt them down, they are still trailers. It looks like a oil field camp that you see in South Texas for fracking. Okay? Now, as to your circulation issues on your drawing, number one, I understand what drive lanes are in an apartment complex, okay? I understand what those are. But the way you have this laid out, these are really streets that are substandard size. You tell us that you're going to provide parking for the units that you require, but you're all going to park on site, and that there will be nothing parked on those roadways. That is ridiculous. There is no way in the world that you can police your tenants to not park on those streets. And when they do that, they're going to put themselves and their neighbors in jeopardy if you have a fire.
Well, when they do that, they'll likely get fined. And if it's
who's going to
on-site management,
the management firm is going to go through the
So-
thing every day.
So we dealt with this. We dealt with this when you had the single family. We dealt with this next door with them. Okay. Everything is striped fire. So it is a striped fire lane, just like an apartment complex or just like anything else. You're not allowed to park there either. And so that's why it was so important, and that's why staff wanted to make sure that you not only had resident parking, but you had visitor parking. And so just like next door, it was very important for it to be striped and that everyone knows that that will be enforced and people will be towed. And so, and again, that's why we went back and forth. Remember, we went back and forth lots of different times to say, okay, I want more parking. I want more parking. I want this, that, and the other. So that's why it was, and they were resistant to it. But this group has said, okay, whatever the parking needs to be done, it needs to be done. So that's how that's been handled in the past, and that's how it's been handled here. Whether it's an apartment complex or whether it's here or whether it's a apartment that looks like a single family, separate unit or not. That's how it's dealt with. And that's how it's dealt with here, and that's how it's dealt with in other communities because we researched it in San Antonio and Austin and how that's
So just to clarify, these roads will be striped as far.
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a 26-foot drop.
So for staff, I have a question as far as access. We're looking at two different access points. We're looking from Sunrise and from Eagle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then Savignon Drive dead ends on the Friendship. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
As the fire marshal, is he okay with, so St. Clair Lane is a dead end, correct?
Truck. We don't have two entrances.
Yes, sir.
Can a fire truck get in there?
What was discussed was having if we needed to, having even though that's a dead end, having a fire access off Friendship because that is stopped. So you can do that, we did that off of 87 in Carriage Park.
Carriage Park.
You've got the
Bollards.
bollards,
Yep.
and you've got the brick paving there.
And that's what you're gonna put at
If
the
if,
dead
if
end.
another connection is needed, then that is an easy connection.
Yeah, that one thing where St. Clair Lane and Sylvan Drive dead end like that, I was wondering what was
Yeah.
the purpose of dead ending them? and
Well,
not
because
letting
you
them
can't.
just
I mean,
go
we could make it an interest, but it doesn't meet the separation. Is that correct? I'm almost positive that was what was happening in that second.
Correct.
So, explain, please.
As proposed, the access points are off of Pascal Park on South Eagle Street. And then off of Sunrise Street, we have this Cabernet Court. Those are the access points that staff has reviewed through our development review committee process, including the fire marshal and city's engineering team. It was discussed that if another access point was needed for emergency services only, this, I'm not going to say it right, Sauvignon Drive could serve as that emergency access point, but not for full circulation.
So you would end up with that crosshatch paver system and the bollards up against Friendship Lane.
If it was required, yes, ma'am.
So who makes that requirement? Who makes that decision? Fire marshal.
The fire marshal.
So they haven't reviewed this plan.
He has reviewed it. He hasn't said that that was a requirement.
Okay.
Typically, he does a much more detailed review as part of the civil construction plans. He'll work directly with their
Okay.
engineering team.
Gotcha. Okay, this is just plan. Right.
And that'll get dedicated.
Anyone else, comments or questions?
I move that we deny the request.
Motion by Tim, do I have a second? All right, motion dies for lack of second. Are there any other questions, comments, or another motion? Or we all need to further discussion, we need to have to move on.
Frankly, I'm a little disappointed in the 1,600, but I understand what it costs to put something like this on the ground. Particularly if this is going to be considered affordable. Because the other thing we've always been told is that it's going to come in at one rate, and by the time construction's complete, it's almost 50% or better than that original proposal. So that's something I would feel a lot better about it, having assurance on.
Could I make a point to that?
Sure.
So we were trying to hit 1450. That's I think what we discussed way back. However, we had to make a very, very, very nice neighborhood, and I think we really did. Right. So we have a really nice neighborhood. We have incredible units. Our units are fantastic. I'll stand by that 10 times out of 10. At the cost that we're at, or said differently, with where market rents are, we could charge $2,000 for this and probably be full. Right. We're deliberately keeping this at 1650. That is a prerogative of ours. That's part of our background and what we're trying to accomplish. So we're steadfast at that number. We have a in-town GC who's going to be working our construction, and we have a fixed cost for our units. So we're steadfast at 1650 at most.
Including infrastructure costs, you
correct
control that?
Correct.
Solid bids on that?
Yep.
Well, I know we can't make that a restriction on plat. That's one of the things that we were all concerned about, because market rents are great, but that's not what we need. We've got a big project coming up for Friendship Lane that's going to absorb more market than we have at market.
Right.
So the affordability factor is going to be not only beneficial to you, but it's also going to be beneficial to us.
You have a beautiful town. A lot of folks want to live here. There's not a lot of inventory, and I think that we're going to deliver something that we're going to maintain as low as possible rents. We are for profit, and we're going to try to make sure that it's fair for the folks that work here.
And is the plan to phase this as you lease them, or to put them all in place at one time?
We're going to put them all in once.
So everything will be completed.
Correct.
So if we do this, then we're going to basically say that in any R2 zoning district, you can have this type of construction and these types of units. Is that really what we want? Is that really what we want?
Unfortunately, there's no differential between.
If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a
I
duck.
know that's your favorite line, but that's not
Right.
that. It's not that. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to say what.
There's nothing that keeps them doing.
Are there any HOA fees on this?
It'll be wrapped into the rent. I mean, if
It'll be part of it.
right, we're trying to keep the rent where we can.
It's an apartment complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, that's what we're talking about. This is an apartment complex. It was gonna be an apartment complex. It's just a different form of an apartment.
Oh.
Okay. My reluctance is I'm not real crazy about getting paid for something new like this. It's the discomfort of being a guinea pig in the town.
We don't deserve this.
If it had been, if you had another place where it was already in place and you could see it and see that it was already working and what it looked like down the road, it would feel more comfortable. That's the discomfort.
Right. We shared various versions with staff and with the DRC, and there's I'd say similar examples of this in many cities throughout Texas. I think that this would put all of those to shame. We've gone really far above and beyond and make this neighborhood look and feel and act like a neighborhood. Best we can. We put our sidewalks in to make sure there's real connectivity. We have bike racks. We have well. Simply put, we listened to every comment that y'all made and try to really implement it.
Well, I see that you did. I mean, you clearly listened to what
Looks a
we
little
did
different.
the last time,
Yeah.
and you tackled every single thing that we said.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to explain where the discomfort's coming
Sure.
from.
Sure.
So I don't know where the line comes from in the movie, but what you're really asking us to do is trust me. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. This is so weird. Clear. And I think trust is the issue.
Sure.
Because you understand, every one of us stood up here and accused themselves as a public official, duly appointed city council and mayor who are entrusted with their seats by citizens of Fredericksburg. Citizens of Fredericksburg entrust the city council to make the best issue, best choices for them, issues and matters to them. And thereby, appointed the city council, we are expected to make the best choices, decisions, all of this. We realize there are significant changes. Housing costs, people living, some developments exploded outside of county. That's manufactured housing.
Sure.
I think the challenge is those of us seated here realize that while legally it is probably the proper thing to do to approve this, it also will speak to every one of us here that we approve something that is a great departure from what Fredericksburg has built. The heritage, the history, the infrastructure, the rock homes that are around here, communities of interest. And I think it's really more of a comfort issue. And we are trying to make sure we're making the right choice for Fredericksburg. We've done a lot of research and all of that. But I think this is where I need to get on my personal. Sitting here for many years, I've seen many people stand in the executive session and say, I bet. But then here, one thing that really loves Fredericksburg is the wallet. We've seen that all. And we lost part of our town when we let people whose wallets love Fredericksburg live for the past few years. As you notice, many of the regulations, and we're trying to recoup. so we don't lose it. We say, from my perception, timing is best for those of us who are trying to find people who love Fredericksburg parking lot.
Sure.
Sorry, that's first.
I hear you.
I'm not intending to speak for the commission, but if I had to guess, I think that's where some of them would probably not disagree.
Well, I would agree that with everything said, I look at this and I see a military boot camp. The video did nothing to impress me. We have structures that are rubber stamped. There's nothing there that tells me this is an individual place for the individuals that are living here. I see 20 pounds in a 5-pound bag. You got houses, you got streets that are undersized. I just don't see fire trucks moving through here. And those things will burn up like that without the fire trucks being able to figure out how to get there. They're going to have to go drive this thing before it's all said and done to figure out how they're going to maneuver through here. And on top of everything else, I don't see the landscape working here. There's just not enough room for it. The only green space you have is the detention pond, and I'm not sure how the detention pond works. There's just way too much sight to get to the little corner up there by Friendship Lane. I think more than anything, what gets me is, number one, the density of everything. Number two, we're being asked to stick our necks out as a commission for an experiment. And I don't think we're ready for an experiment.
Can I put the mayor on the spot? You say that begrudgingly. My thoughts are I think we're getting ready to move in one specific direction. That always gives them the ability to come to the council afterwards. Is that correct? Not on the plat. Okay.
So
You're off the spot.
site plans and plats are considered only by planning and zoning.
Okay.
If it was a zoning item, such as a conditional use permit, an annexation, a zoning or land use change, that would go from you to city council. This is just a site plan review, a technical review that's approved by planning and zoning.
Okay. You're off the spot.
I'm kind of with Daryl and Steve as well. I'm concerned. We're doing something very unusual here that we've not done in Fredericksburg. Is this the fit for this area of town? Yeah. I'm not sure it is, and I'm not sure this is. I'm worried where this project's going to go. I'm worried about the fire lanes. I'm worried about the density. I'm worried about the fit with all the other developments, projects that are in that area. So, uncomfortable with that.
This is on the heels of having approved Friendship Oaks several years back, and feeling like we got really burned on the Friendship Oaks project. And so it makes me concerned about who's developing it, how's it going to be managed, who's going to be the operating company. And the problem with it is planning and zoning. This is what we approved. How you operate it out once we've approved it, we've got nothing to do with that. We've got no say. And these buildings are here for 20, 30 years. You could have 10 operators in that 20 or 30 years. They could turn over all the time. It would have nothing to do with assets that are sitting on the ground. The only thing that we have say on is the assets that get set on the ground. How they get operated after that, we have no say. So you could put these on the ground, tell us you're hiring this great management company, and 2 months after everything's built, you walk away, sell it off to another operating company. They operate it completely differently. And we have no say. So the only opportunity we have to take a look at this is by looking for physical assets that are physically going on the ground. Because we have no guarantee that who you're going to have operated is going to operate. So any comments about how it's going to be managed and how you're going to operate it, it's basically irrelevant to the decision to look at the assets that are being put on the ground. Personally, as much as I want affordable housing, I'm not crazy about 100 of these all in one location on the ground. I know we have a problem. We have a lot of things we need to do to tackle the problem. But just like Friendship Oaks of 500 doors sandwiched in there like a big old warehouse wasn't the right answer. I'm not sure I agree that this is the right answer for us at this point. If we had exhausted other mechanisms and then this came along saying, okay, your next step is to do this, I would say, okay, we've exhausted other options and now we're faced with an option like this. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still at the stage of exploring our other options of incremental development, splitting of lots, ADUs, things like that to grab more housing stock. And I'm not ready to just give it up and say that these types of developments are the only kinds of developments that are going to increase our housing stock. So I'm not, maybe in 5 years after we tried a bunch of other things, I might be willing to take a look at this and say that this is okay. But right now, I think there's a whole lot of other ways that we can solve our housing problem without doing something like this. Sorry, it just doesn't seem compatible with how our city looks and feels, the mass, the scale, the bulk, the everything. And everybody says, oh, but it's Friendship Lane. Well, we just keep dumping all this crap on Friendship Lane saying we're solving the problem by putting everything on Friendship Lane.
Let's
and we're
remember
not.
because Mr. Musselman lived there.
We're not solving the problem. Do we need 100 more units tomorrow? Yeah, we need 100 more units tomorrow.
Especially at $1,600.
But I'm just not sure that we are in a position where we have exhausted all of our other alternatives to where now this is an attractive alternative for us. Your economics look great, but I'm just saying this just does not look like an attractive addition to Fredericksburg. And I can't get past it, to be honest. I want more affordable housing. I want more of it. I just don't want to have to go here first. I want to get it otherwise.
All right, let's move on this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to make my motion again that we deny this as presented. And at the end of the day, all we're going to have is our vote. Roll call, please.
I have a motion by Tim, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All right, roll call.
Jim Drew.
I guess it's in this case.
Yes to deny.
Yes.
Thank you.
Daryl Whitworth. Jeff Lawrence.
Yes.
Cindy Scroggins.
Yes.
Holly Rickard.
Yes.
Tim Dooley.
Yes.
Steve Thomas.
Yes.
Janice Menking.
Yes. All right. This site plan has been denied. Mr. Musselman will come back on. We'll go to action item number 5D. Request site plan, plat 2323 by Chris Dance for consideration for final plat application for property located at 528 South Milo.
Good evening. I'm Chris Danzy, the owner of the property. This is Cody Music with Waymaker Surveying, surveyor that worked on the plat. Requesting final plat approval. 2.5 acres being subdivided into 2 commercial lots and 4 residential lots. Intention is to build a pregnancy resource center on the larger tract, the 1 acre tract on the corner of South Milam and West Live Oak. Then the other commercial property intention is to deed restrict it to commercial office, administration, medical. Certainly no light industrial, anything like that. It'd be office to protect the property on the corner, the Pregnancy Resource Center, which would be a very nice building, 6,000 square foot, heated, 7,000 square foot, including the patios. Be an architectural style that befits Fredericksburg. Use of stucco, stone, standing seam metal roof. It's gonna be a real nice project aesthetically for the corner at that intersection. It's gonna be a building that Fredericksburg will be proud of. Intention is to build on those 4 lots, the residential lots. I'll probably build those out myself. I don't intend on selling them, but I might. They'll be 100% masonry and possibly standing seam metal roofs, but that's on down the road. Want to get the Pregnancy Resource Center completed first. All right, any questions?
All right, Shelby.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Danzy. This application might look familiar to you.
Yeah.
The property previously obtained preliminary plat approval on February 8th in 2023. And we've also worked on this property before as they went through a zoning change for the properties for Lot 6 and Lot 5 that front on West Live Oak Street. But essentially, this final plat is for the property located at 528 South Milam. They're creating a total of 6 lots. 4 are residential and front on West Walsh, and 2 are C1 neighborhood commercial and front on West Live Oak Street. Lot 6 is actually a corner lot that also has access off of South Milam and West Live Oak. The total tract size is approximately 2.42 acres, and there is no creation of new roadways, just essentially one giant square. And then there is a requirement for park dedication. The applicant shall pay park dedication fees for the amount of $500 for each new lot, for a total of $2,500. And that fee is required to be paid prior to the recordation of the plat. And then there is a requirement for construction plans. They are actually under review with the city's engineering department at the moment. So staff, city's engineering department. Yes, sir. So with that, staff recommends approval of the final plat as presented, with the condition that the parkland dedication fees are paid and approval of the civil construction plans.
Thanks, Sheldon. All right, y'all have any questions or comments on this one?
I only have one. Did I see you on your lot today with a lawnmower and chainsaw?
No, that wasn't
that
me.
you?
No, sir.
Well, there was somebody working when I drove by today.
That was Roy Sanchez,
Okay.
I believe.
I have a question on the drive at the western edge, the 26-foot access road, the designation of the street on the western edge of the property. Is that going to be a through street from Walsh to Live Oak, or is that what do you plan to do with that?
In the back. No, that's like an alleyway. I think that was the city must have taken that for the sewer, but I've been told that there won't be any access permanent access from these properties. We can access the properties from that alleyway, but we've been told there will never be a chance to have an address like facing that street.
Okay.
If you want to call it a street. Right now, it's just cleared. It's not an alley.
It's not even an alley.
It's kind of like
It's an easement.
it's an easement for
Okay.
sewer. I
So-
think it's an easement for sewer, is what it looks like to me.
Okay, so that's what's underneath the sewer. So who maintains that? Is that a city? Is that a city issue there? Currently? So we have a right of way there for sewer.
All right, let me ask another question now that it's been brought up. We all know that people take the path of least resistance around here. And if there's a fence there and there's a bollard or something there, it will wind up being a street before it's over with. If it is in fact at the end of a dead end street. Tell me about that, Evan.
We actually just addressed that same issue out of there.
Okay. Put a piece of guardrail up or something? Okay, thank you.
On both ends.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
That's all it's needed.
I understand, but we know what happened.
Plus, there's some topography on this lot that's going to create that anyway. So I make a motion we approve with the two conditions of final construction plans. And what was the other
Park
condition?
dedication.
Park dedication piece. Yes, we got to have those.
All right.
I'll second that.
Mr. Darrell beat you to it. Motion by Jim, a second by Darrell. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back and approve the minutes.
Make a motion we approve. Anybody got any corrections?
There
We
was
have
one.
September
Miss
7th.
Scroggins' name was misspelled.
On the-
page 8.
on the
I am not
That's
picking
the
on you,
regular
Cindy. I
minutes.
promise.
I know, it's always Cindy's name.
It always
I
is.
don't know why. I don't know.
It's on the regular minutes,
You're not
It's on
sorry.
the.
September,
Because you
or
were absent,
not the
you
joint
misspelled your
council
name.
meeting.
That's
All right,
That's not-
let's.
May I make a comment?
It's not
On
your
the joint
fault.
meeting.
Well, I don't know how the corrections on that work, Nick, considering you already approved us with council. We can change it.
We're making that, I've only got one R in Darrell. So.
Oh, would y'all quit?
That was my only.
All right.
That's
Any
the only thing
others?
I saw.
All right, then I will, go ahead.
Okay, Cindy has a question.
Page 3, Shelby. The date says September 6th, and then it says on the 7th day of September.
Thank you.
Which I did look on the calendar.
So these minutes are for the September 7th meeting. To add the confusion, we had back-to-back meetings, September 6th and September 7th. So nice catch. Thank you, ma'am.
That makes sense.
You know,
Sneeze, man, sneeze first.
Almost got out, Scott.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to approve the meetings, the minutes as corrected.
I've already done.
You have a motion by these two guys here, Jim and Darrell. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we'll go to item number 6A, Director's Report.
Yeah.
And at the end of the director's report, I have a request for something from Nick about our future agenda structure.
Okay, so I just want to give you an update on the short-term rental ordinance. It was passed by City Council yesterday unanimously. It does go into effect January 1st. I handed out a memo, just kind of a high level, what's in the ordinance, trying to explain any changes mainly between, I'm calling this a 2024 ordinance since it'll go into effect January 1st, to contrast that to the 2022 ordinance. The biggest change from what you guys recommended was the restriction in R2. So R2 essentially now will be treated like R1. So no new unoccupied. They changed the requirements for the stranded properties, removed the STR use, and R3 as you recommended. Created the special exceptions, so we'll have to get the Zoning Board of Adjustment trained on that. Parking and occupancy, we made those changes. There's new maximums for, with occupancy maximum is 12, parking is required per bedroom, no credit for on-street, tandems allowed, but renewing properties do not have to come into compliance with those things. Properties will renew annually and they will get an annual inspection. And there's a list of things that do have to come into compliance at renewal, mostly life safety and signage. So not a lot of new things, but when we do renew, everything must be in compliance. So enforcements, the 3 minor and 3 major. 3 minor violations equal 1 major. 3 majors sends an applicant or a permit holder to city council. And in the meantime, between now and January 1st, staff will be going live, hopefully with our STR permitting software with MyGovNow, updating the website, updating all of our promotion or educational material. I gave a presentation to the Board of Realtors last week. Apparently, you just have to say STR and you can sell out the luncheon. So there were about 80 people in attendance at that meeting, well attended, kind of went over this exact same thing with them. So obviously the best place to start is with the realtors. And yeah, so we'll until then continue to do renewals based on the 2022 ordinance, handle transfers and new permits until January 1st when it goes into effect.
Congratulations, Mayor Hoover. Thank you. It'd be so nice to put this to bed. That's embarrassing.
It's been a bitter pill to swallow, believe me.
Permit on the exterior.
Correct. That had been a recommendation that they post a permit on the exterior, and that was removed. So that's not going to be a requirement going forward.
So it's like it has been.
Yes, posted on the inside.
Inside the house.
And then the other exciting thing is the comprehensive plan is moving along. The CPAC, the advisory committee meeting, will meet on the 14th of November to go over the Parks Master Plan draft. And then December 12th, the CPAC will meet to go over the comp plan draft. And that means that you guys will be meeting with City Council in January. We'll have to call a special meeting for you guys to review that. And that'll be the formal public input process. We'll have that out and available for everyone to read. Right now it stands right at 100 pages, lots of graphs and pictures. So we'll have that open for public input for most of December, January, and then we're anticipating that you would take a vote for your recommendation at your February meeting, and then that would go to council the following their second meeting in February for adoption. And then, did you bring them a December? We just wanted to kind of give you an idea. December is going to be heavy, so don't make plans to be out of town. It's going to be a pretty heavy agenda.
I was about to
What
make
is
a
the
motion.
meeting date?
Meeting day 6.
December what?
6.
What we looked at. I was going to make a motion. We don't have one in December.
It'll be fairly heavy rain.
Oh, then we demand it.
Yeah.
Maybe on the knob.
Will be 4 of them with the zones, and others outside.
Should we consider bumping back a half hour?
Should we start earlier in the day?
Are we too late for that?
With dinner?
Well, I'm just worried about us getting, with that much, if it's a heavy agenda, I mean, we may run late, because it's got how many public hearings?
We'll see how heavy it is. We want to start a little bit earlier on non-public hearing. Okay.
Handle the non-public hearing stuff first in the agenda, and push the public hearing stuff. Yeah.
Perfect public hearing, that's it, or 5:30.
Yeah, just structure it around, but let us get the other stuff done early.
Earlier,
And
correct. Okay.
Good idea.
We don't want to miss December 7th. Celebration.
so my question, Mick, can you talk to us about how the Bernie Planning and Zoning Commission uses their discussion agenda item to allow applicants to come in front of them in a discussion mode rather than a vote mode to try things out before they get down the approval process too far?
They don't do that often, but they do, and as long as it's posted on the agenda, the subject matter and what's being discussed, that can be done public. And that is a pretty good safety valve to keep developers from trying to contact each of you privately, which can violate the Open Meetings Act.
So I was going to suggest to staff that as you have people coming into the development process and you can see issues that you're not sure how planning and zoning is going to land on stuff, and you want to give some good guidance to the applicant before they get too far down the road and they've spent all kinds of engineering money and everything, we might consider using our discussion agenda as a way for them to come in and throw those things in front of us and start getting that feedback back and gauge us early on in the process so they don't go spend a lot of money running down a rabbit hole that they're not going to get it.
Of course, that's really not too available for plats. It's mainly zoning matters that would be.
But site plan matters too. When they're coming in.
It could be.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we ought to think about it as a way, to help you guys with your load, because if you're getting hit with stuff that you're trying to talk them around it and it's not working, we're a big group.
I would encourage that if you do that, only do it for matters that suggest it, because otherwise you'll have 4-hour meetings.
Yeah. Right, but I'm basically putting it on you guys to determine when it's a good idea to do that, and it'll help lighten your load and get feedback from us early on and something to give them direction to go a certain way rather than have you guys chasing down the 5 different things they could do when we could just clear it up in an open meeting discussion.
Those unique and complex.
Yeah.
Well, that'll
not the everyday.
I'm not,
it'd
and
have
I'm
to be
not
a big-
recommending
some
it
bigger
help us. I'm
projects.
recommending it help you.
Right.
So that'll also help with, it seems like the last 2 meetings, we've done the same thing. We've sent items, we've denied, sent them back with specific requests. They've come back to us meeting those requests, and we've denied them again. The restaurant 2 weeks ago, and these guys today. We've got to get out of doing that because that's going to expose us. And I don't feel good about doing it.
So I have a question that some items that have come before planning and zoning, in the last year or 2, having to do with condo regimes, and an issue that I've thought about is that I'm afraid that developers are using the condo regime as a way of creating smaller lots for development. So I guess I really shouldn't talk about the development tonight, but we've had these developments that come in with a condo regime, and what they're doing is they're creating a horizontal condo instead of a vertical condo.
Well, but Tom, there's an issue with the use of it from a condo. Condominium is a financial ownership model.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with the form.
But they do
the buildings can be any.
Okay, but so the same thing with an apartment. So historically, if you think of it, when you think of an apartment, you're thinking, okay, well, it's it's a building that is multi-story. Okay, well, the apartment regimes that we've been seeing lately have been, okay, I can have X number of square feet for a 2-bedroom apartment, and therefore I'm putting these next to each other on a piece of property. If the intent of our city is to have smaller lots to encourage some kind of development, then we need to be having a discussion of let's have smaller lots, not let's use a condo regime or an apartment regime to pack more. Okay, the issue.
So we need to add this to another agenda item because it's not on our agenda tonight.
Yeah.
be better to have it on the next agenda if you'd like. Okay. Discussion.
Actually, if we're gonna do that,
Maybe
I would like
next year
to
sometime,
address
not
that
December.
in January, February. But I think what we want to do is talk about all of our residential ordinances and the economic effects that those ordinances are creating. I've done a study of it, so I can share that with you to show what's the true economic result from the rules that we currently have. So then we could have an open discussion about which of those rules make sense and which of those rules really aren't making a lot of sense. And we're creating a lot of really perverse results.
Well, maybe we need, that's a great workshop.
Yeah.
More of a housing workshop.
Maybe we can have.
Follow up to the comp plan.
After the comp plan.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it may change some of the
Yes.
assumptions
This
in
is-
your comp plan.
We need to talk about missing middle.
I'd have one more thing, and I know everybody's got ants in their pants to leave. Mick, can we put on every agenda, a section for executive session where we discuss with you items that we have questions about, that we don't have access to you before that meeting, like tonight. If we could have had some of your time before we got into Petrostella tonight, it would have helped us a whole lot.
Well, you can post on every agenda an item advising the public that you may go into executive session if you wish, solely for legal advice on a listed item. So you can do that without having it on your agenda, but it's better to have it so the public knows that might happen.
Can we ask staff, or can we get somebody to recommend to do that? I mean, if it's just verbiage on a piece of paper that allows us to do
we've
it.
made those changes in the city council agendas already with some of that language, and we can talk about doing that. But remember, it's not an item where you can discuss the merits of anything. Or even the item that Tom just brought up wouldn't be appropriate.
I understand.
It's legal advice.
But what you're saying is that if it is on our posted agenda, we can talk about it with you before we do anything.
If it's a posted item.
Okay.
Or after you do it even, as long as it's on the posted agenda and the chair announces that you're seeking legal advice on that item.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll need this.
I move we adjourn.
All right. Motion by Tim. Any other?
Second.
Second by Jim.
Yeah, sit down, Joe. We haven't voted.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We are adjourned.
I understand, but I appreciate that you hit it right on. Exactly. Good for me. I'm still. I understand.
I don't, it's a case of they don't understand the community and that's all they're looking at.
It's the money. You're absolutely right. And oh, by the way, these are all good guys. They're all good guys.
When she said you have to be busy, somebody needs to tell them, somebody needs to tell future folks that bring you. I can say what I hear like
Okay.